Good morning, world. I got to see what I put up for today's for Monday fun. What do we have here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. My girlfriend sent me this. Pretty clever, if you ask me. All right. All right. I have to remember this one. I know under the bed, but hadn't thought of this. And I have to tell you, I know we've been having issues with echo cancellation and all that. And John has worked really hard on it to try and figure out what's going on. But these interviews that Lilo is getting are from, they're in an empty room with a quilt behind. And so some of that is just the echoiness of that. Okay. And today we're going to talk about clothes in a little bit. But in the meantime, what do I have for you? Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day. I had to dig to find something with green. Green is not my friend when it comes to color. Okay. Oh, I think I saw this on Facebook, Victoria Designs. Now, I have a lot of these plates and John, can you come here today? I mean, can you come here right now? I wonder if he'll come here right now. Anyways, I have a lot of these plates. I don't, John, come here. I got a question for you. I have to go whisper something to John. I'll be right back. I'll leave this picture up. Okay, problem averted. Thank you. Okay, so I found this, I think, on Facebook, and I almost split a gasket. You know how much quilting is so important to me. The quilting um, after you've pieced the top and stuff. And I was like, holy Toledo. Okay, so this is, God, I'm going to say it wrong, but Christina. And she does long arm quilting. And I guess this quilt is called Down the Rabbit Hole. Are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And fortunately, there were some close ups. Look at that. Look at that. So, from what I can gather, she is a long armor and she does this for a business. But I got to tell you something right now. Can we just say, let's knock it out of the ballpark? I'd say she did. Look at that, down the rabbit hole. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I know, right? We go, woohoo. Okay. And then Nicole, okay, Nicole sent me this, or well, no, Linda Garcia sent me this. I think this is Nicole's work. Linda, thank you for sending me this so I could share with everybody. It was on a Facebook thing that has to do with denim or whatever, but I could see um this being a definite, yes, I've got to make this. And I don't care if it's on denim or not. But what I can assess here, and my friend Wendy is doing this with letters now, is you outline the shape of whatever you want to do and then fill it in with random stitches. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. And then Amy Pabst has been on the show and I this came up to me and she won for color. I'm not sure if it was I don't know exactly what she got, but if you haven't seen Amy Papp's show, I want to show you this. It is spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And I believe this was at QuiltCon. And then Kristen, who we're going to get an interview from down the road, who works for us, was working at the Amy Paps taping. And she did a small log cabin. And it got into QuiltCon. So we'll be talking to her too. Then, I can't remember where I found this. But I love this quilt. It took me a second to, and I'm sorry, I don't know who made it. Um, if I love this quilt. When I first saw it, I went, okay, I thought it was a corners of a bunch of quilts, but no, this is one quilt. And then when I assessed it, basically everything is that one size square or four that equal that one size. I think this is spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Then, um, we have good old Ruth, mother of Sophie, who's getting her fingernails done today, the cat. So Ruth in Branson got a wonderful prize. And let me tell you something, those squares are all hand pieced. And I have to ask myself, why, Ruth? Why would you hand piece those? But she did. And I forget how many pieces, but it was like a zillion or something. But thank you for sending close ups with the quilting too. Hand pieced, and you can see that it's hand pieced if you really, if like, let's say you look at the blues on point, the upper right one, you can see the little stitches. And then the border. And look at the little beading next to the binding. Ruth, I can't wait to meet you in Paducah. Okay, let's see. Oh, and sorry, this is upside down. I didn't know how to turn it. She took a linen doily and then put all the information on the back, which is so important to do. Okay, we caught up, I say Lila, with Bianca Springer, and she is a garment designer. We did an interview with her, but I wanted to show you some of her work. Some of her work is um, not patch quilts cut up, but she does that too. But I love, love, love the clothes she designs because it has flair, it is classy, it has taste, and it's working with fabric that like wow kazow. Okay, let's take a look at another one. I had fun surfing her site. Look at that. I love that. Where did you get that fabric, Miss Bianca? Where did you get that? Beautiful. I'm so sorry I wasn't there to interview all these people. Okay, this is the one though that I went, yes, yes. And I don't know if I could pull it off, but man, she is. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So this I thought was great. This is kind of transitioning us from um, normal clothing. I don't know how else to say it. Um, but into patchwork. So that back is all patched. And I love Bianca's colors, her whimsy with prints, and all that good stuff. Okay, now we're getting into the patchwork stuff. And the thing with Bianca, and they're going to talk a little bit about this in the interview, is many of these quilts have been rescued. And so along the way, they need to be patched and cared for, unlike perhaps the other garments I just showed you. Oh my gosh, seriously. Loving on this. If you're into quilted clothing, the other person you need to follow is Rachel Clark, who has been on the show. And she's very, very generous sharing her garments on her Facebook feed. Rachel Clark. Look at that. Wow. I'll bet she's tall. I don't know. Okay, so now we're getting into things that really are ratty, and yet she chose to put it on these jeans. So I guess she was the talk of QuiltCon, and I'm so grateful that she could set some time aside with us. And yeah, Rondi, I love Rachel too. Rachel just keeps on putting them out, man. She has been dealing with cancer and chemo and all that. It has not stopped her in her tracks once. She just keeps on going. Okay, so let's take a look at what Lilo got. And I wish it were me. But anyways, here's Bianca Springer, and I'm praying that the audio is going to be a-okay.
It's day one at QuiltCon. We just got out of a fabulous lecture with Bianca Springer, who talks about
wearing that quilt, integrating piece textiles into garment making.
A yo-yo quilt as a dress. Fabulous. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those who are not aware of who you are.
I am a garment maker primarily. I love to wear fun textiles, vintage patterns, vintage fabrics. I have a wonderful core group of friends who are quilters, and they have brought me into this quilty world. So a lot of what I do here is an integration of both of those techniques, garment making and quilting. I am a small business owner. I make and sell sewing pattern weights for improving sewing efficiency. Cutting patterns is my least favorite part of the process. And I found that making pattern weights that are fun designs but also functional really helps speed up that process. So that's another element of what I do. I am a pattern designer. I have written for Sew News Magazine, Creative Machine Embroidery Magazine. I am the author of Represent Embroidery, which is an inclusive hand embroidery book that centers people of color who have been marginalized and ignored in these publications in the past.
And you didn't just talk about using this type of thing. You also were talking about adding things to an existing outfit, like a jacket. You showed how to put patches and embroidery on jeans. So if making a dress isn't necessarily what might be your style, you had that as another option, which I thought was fantastic. And you're doing classes here as well for those individuals who want to sort of take a small leap into this world of working with vintage pieces.
Yes. So I am teaching 2 classes, 2 sessions of scrappy patchwork embroidery, which involves one element of it is using orphan blocks and fabric scraps, but also there's a kantha embroidery element. There's also a sashiko inspired element to that class. And with that, that's an upcycling class. So the students will bring a garment as a base and we will embellish it. And for those who are a little more adventurous, I'm teaching a lounge pants class. So we will make a pair of pants with pockets, but the quilty element that we bring in is a pieced cuff. So students have an opportunity to bring either piecing they have previously done, or if they don't have one, we will learn some basic quilting blocks that we will use as a cuff.
Great.
So
Great.
Good way to bridge that garment making quilty divide.
Well, as a garment maker, how did you go from buying fabric at the store to cut up to make whatever you're wanting to let me source all of this funds that's out there that you're finding at vintage stores? I know you talked in a lecture about finding things at a resource type of a place or online, but how did you go from what most people think is garment making, where you're starting out with flat folds of yardage, to let's start with something that's maybe just a stack of blocks, or as in this case, which was a quilt?
Yes. So quilting is hard. For me, garment making is fast. I can today wake up and decide if I want to make a dress, and by the evening I can have a dress made. I can't do the same thing with a quilt.
Right.
My friends, to my benefit, but also to my horror, are exceptional award-winning quilters. So looking at what they do and what they have accomplished in quilting is so far out of what is possible for me that it's daunting. And so, but I understand and appreciate it. So what I did, I saw quilt tops and quilts that were discarded and donated, and realized that, okay, I can get this quilty look and feel with less effort because I haven't done the hard work of
Somebody
quilting.
else already started.
Someone else has started it.
Yeah.
And I am a sentimental fool. And the idea that someone put all that time, energy, materials into the piece, and it was discarded, donated, passed on without the love and the work that went into it, was a motivating factor for me to use it. And we live in Texas and in Houston, out the suburb of Houston, so we don't get quilt weather. We don't have a lot of use for a bunch of quilts.
Right.
And so the idea of transforming those quilt tops or reusing the quilts as a functional quilt wasn't feasible for me because it just wasn't practical. We don't need that many quilts in my home, but I need to be dressed every day.
Yeah, but now you're also tapping into patterns, vintage patterns
Yes.
from the 60s and
60s,
70s.
Yes.
Because you love that style
Yes.
of dress. So
Yes.
not only are you tapping into vintage fabrics, but you're also tapping into the older patterns.
Yes, and
Why those?
I love vintage patterns. The style of them just really resonate with me. My mom wore those patterns. Her pattern stash were the Vogue couture patterns. So like it is just ingrained in me. The aesthetic of that, her as someone my age wearing those pieces in the 60s and 70s just sticks with me. So those deposited images are warm and special to me. And so when I inherited her pattern stash, it was important for me to make and continue her creative journey with those patterns. But also I just like them because they generally are simpler in construction and with bold, fun prints and colors that I gravitate towards. The simpler lines of those patterns really make the fabric stand out. And so I find that the uncomplicated nature of those vintage patterns lend itself well to the complicated elements of piece garments.
Right. And you also mentioned in your lecture that a lot of the pieces that you choose to make from the patterns give you a large area to work with. So you're not having to cut up lots of little intricate panels, but you have maybe the front of a dress, and that becomes the showcase for the quilt that you made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I want to preserve as much integrity and the original work of the quilter in my piece. And if the pattern I'm working with is overly complicated with multiple lines, I end up breaking up their intention. And there's a time and place for that. There are some designs that just don't make sense for me. And I will, like I have a red, white, and blue quilt. I don't love it. If someone gave it to me, I've dyed it, indigo, put it in the indigo vat, and I will chop that up and I will put it back together because in that case it makes sense to do so.
Right.
But generally, if it's a nice bold quilt top or design, I try to preserve that as much as possible.
Now, speaking of preserving, this is not the condition you necessarily found this quilt that you're now wearing, that you've reconstructed into a dress. So tell us a little bit about how, when you're seeing something, let's say at a thrift store or at a consignment store or an estate sale, wherever you're finding it, you don't just literally take it and then make a dress immediately.
Absolutely
from
not. No, and my default is the next to trash element. So that I buy the pieces that need a lot of love, need a lot of repair, because they don't get a second chance. I am probably the last stop with that item. So I know going in, it's going to need repairs. I try to the best of my ability to repair it in the way the original maker created it. So this was hand sewn. So when I needed to repair it, I went in with my hand sewing needle and I regathered those yo-yos where they are separated at the connection points. I'm on the back side hand sewing them together. I love the fun, bold, obnoxious fabrics in this. So I didn't do much. I washed it, I hand washed it in a solution of borax. I just let it sit for a while till the water, because it's clear that I need to, I wash it until it's clean, lay it flat and dry, and then I will after all my repairs and cleaning are done, I then construct it.
Yeah, and you also had mentioned, and we can see that there's a little barnacle here. One of them has come a little bit loose, so it still means even after the fact, you have to continually repair little elements of it.
All the time.
It is such a fun dress.
Thank you.
It's such a wonderful idea of utilizing, as you said, something that may have been the last stop before the incinerator, what have you.
Yes.
And it's been so fun going to the lecture, meeting you, and we are super excited. She is going to be taping with us. So look for her to be a guest on the show coming soon. Thank you so much. This has been such a
you.
delight to meet you and learn about your craft, because it was such a joy to listen to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Isn't that dress great? Man, I could never pull that off, and on her, it's just like magic, absolutely magic. Look, I don't know what's going on with the sound. We've been having problems with some of these videos, and certainly John has been watching the comments, so he'll take a look. See, I know he fiddled with echo on this, and maybe that cut it back, but I like what Becky said. Go ahead and use earphones. And I'm sorry, that's just one more thing. Okay, so what? Oh, I got a letter from an email from somebody on the peninsula here, and I went back to retrieve it and I couldn't find it. And what this person wanted to know was about judging. They have a show coming up. I can't remember where, but the peninsula. And I think it's 3 or 4 guilds are involved. So, how do they get judges that are not in one of the guilds? Well, I said, let me think about it. I couldn't do it. And then I started thinking, if you are asked to be a judge, there's no reason it can't be somebody from each different guild. You have to set aside you have to become a professional, and not let the heartstrings go to it or anything. And in fact, I know I'm going to be this show. I'm going to be judging at. I'm pretty sure Ricky's going to have a quilt in it, and there are 3 judges. If I find that if I find it absolutely necessary, I will recuse myself from that quilt. But I believe I'm a professional. I can get in and dig in the details. I know design, and yada, yada, yada. So if you have to, and I'm so sorry I lost your email. I'm telling you, I was looking everywhere. If you just have to remind the judges of that. They're professionals. And I don't care if it's my BFF's quilt. We've got to be a judge, right? Okay. What do we have coming up? Oh, I know. Okay, first of all, we're on the heels of um quilt weekend. And we put some very generous offers out at thequiltshow.com. I don't know what's left. I spoke to Suzanne. They've got so many orders. It's crazy. But if you go in there and look and you see something that you want, put it in your cart. It may get rejected in the end because we've run out first come, first serve. But I don't want anybody to miss that. Also, okay, I'm going to do something else that I always hate doing. I'm going to go to my computer screen and I want to show you this promo because I think it will make you very happy. Here we go. Well, it didn't come up. Doggone it. Let me go to the quilt show. Anyways, our master class right now is on scraps, and I don't know about you, but let's go here. Look at the promo. I love these master classes. Okay, here we go. Welcome to the Quilt Show. We know there are a lot of you out there who love scrappy quilts.
So much so that we wanted to put together a special show, or what we call a master class, with talented textile artists who have been on the Quilt Show and know a thing or two about working with scraps.
Up first, Bonnie K. Hunter has wonderful ideas for not only making star blocks with scraps, but also some great tips for building a ready-made scrappy stash.
Watch this.
You are the queen of scraps and scrap management. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's just really smart.
Okay, well, I like to think of taming my scraps the same way I would doing the dishes. So I don't cut into new yardage or new fat quarters to cut strips from. I will take the leftovers of a project as I am cleaning up from that project. And if that piece of fabric is smaller than say half a fat quarter. You can
Okay.
judge what size you
Sure.
want to. I will cut it down into the sizes of strips that work together to form most traditional patchwork blocks.
Okay.
So for instance, I will work with 1.5" strips, 2" strips, 2.5" strips, and 3.5" strips. These all come from cutting down the leftovers of the previous project that I'm working on.
Okay, so why those numbers?
Because the math works to create the units that we work with the most. I can sew 3 1.5" strips together, and these are directly from my scraps from my cutting table, so they don't match anything. I can sew 3 of these together and pair it with a 3.5"
Right,
strip. The math
right.
works, okay?
Well, John just came in, and apparently I'm showing you the show. But let me get back to here. Let me get back to here. Anyways, we've got a bunch of different people and that are on. I love these master classes because we go through the shows that we've done on different topics and then we put it together. But this is for you. For this next week, this master class is free. What's the problem, John? What do you want, hon? I know. Was showing the show, not the trailer. Sorry. That's why I don't like doing that. Anyways, it's our gift to you for this next week to have you look at your scraps and see what you want to play with. So, yay on that. And then also, D is going to be on Saturday. I asked Kristen what she's doing, and it hasn't been decided yet, but you don't want to miss. She's such a great teacher, right? And so, then what is coming up next week? I am flying to Branson because we are going to be taping another round of shows. So we will try and come live to you periodically throughout the time, depending on it always depends on the internet and all that. And speaking of the internet, if you missed Ricky's uh, live last Saturday, I would really commission you to go watch it. It's what's going on in South Africa. He was having internet issues, so it had to bump and be a little bit later. Anyways, we're doing the best we can, right? With what we've got. And I think what we've got is pretty good. So if you like what you see in the masterclass and you're not a member of the quiltshow.com, I would definitely, definitely become one. It's basically $49.99 a year or something like that. And when you join, you have access to everything on the site, including our spectacular BOM pattern by Lynn Wilder. You also, when you join or renew, you get a 25% off on your first shopping spree in the store. Okay, also, I was at a guild the other night, and I don't think I was clear. I can send you $100 off Bernina coupon if you're going to purchase a machine over $1,000. And I need to get it to you before. And how you would get it to me is you would email me at alexandrsn@gmail, and I need your home address because it's literally a postcard that I'm going to be sending you. So as we're on the tails of international world, I like world world. We have another very special week coming up. This is for you, Ruth.